I know people who have had miscarriages, and that is not funny at all.
No,
And
it's yeah, and I think it was for sure the hardest thing that I've ever been through. It was heartbreaking, and I never understood the weight of it. I think you kind of hear of every once in a while, like somebody having a miscarriage, and I never really I was 23, 24. It just never really registered like how awful it is. Um, and it was a thing where, like, we weren't trying to get pregnant at the time. I had seen a the timing of it is really just one of those things where I feel like I just truly feel like my whole journey was, like, happening for me, not to me, where, like, I was starting to ask questions about, like, my PCOS. Um, I had been on birth control my whole life because that's all you can do for your PCOS is what I was told. And I was starting to ask more questions. Like, I want to come off of birth control. I've been on birth control since I've been 16 years old. Like I'm 20, 24, 23, 24, somewhere around there. I'm like, I take a lot better care of myself now. Like, what are my hormones doing now? And just like asking more questions and just hitting a lot of dead ends of like, there's nothing you can do for your PCOS. You need to stay on birth control until you're ready for kids. I'm like, there's just a big disconnect here. Like right off the bat, I'm like, there's just a big disconnect. I was doing a lot of research on my own end, reading the books, listening to podcasts. I was still working my corporate job. So it was an hour drive one way. So 2 hours in the car every day. I was listening to podcasts and just learning a lot. And I ended up seeing a fertility specialist because I was about a year out from getting married. And so I'm in this headspace of like, okay, I still want to do whatever I can to get pregnant and help with my PCOS. At this point, I never had a regular cycle in my life and very just like typical PCOS symptoms. And so I saw a fertility specialist and thinking she was going to give me more like, okay, this is what you're missing. These are other things you can be doing with nutrition, lifestyle to help with your PCOS. And she shut me down so fast of you will never get pregnant without fertility treatments because you're not ovulating. She laughed at me for thinking that nutrition lifestyle was going to help me with being able to get pregnant. And told me you're wasting your time. Come back and see me when you're tired of trying on your own. Um, and I left in tears. I was very discouraged. I did have like another like practitioner, somebody that does very similar things to what I do that was helping me here and there. And I texted her right away. I'm like, I feel so discouraged. She's like, I'm so sorry you had that experience. Like I do think what we're doing is working. Like you got to trust the process. 6 weeks later, I ended up randomly pregnant, which like the timing of it was like, wow. And then that was my pregnancy that ended up in a miscarriage. But then, like I said, it's one of those circumstances where I do feel like it's like happening for me, not to me, or it's like the timing of like I felt so discouraged of this fertility specialist telling me I was wasting my time. Six
yeah,
weeks later, not a lot of time, I randomly end up pregnant. My miscarriage was it's called a miscarriage where I like had no signs of it. I went in for my 12-week ultrasound. Baby didn't have a heartbeat. But that was really enough time for me to like see what I was doing was working. And obviously it didn't end the way that we wanted it to, but then it also still opened my eyes to so much more of the just like gaps in fertility care where it's like right after my miscarriage, I'm like, why did this happen? What can I do to make sure I have a healthy pregnancy moving forward? And immediately it was, and now I hear this all the time with my clients too. Like this is very like typical feedback of like miscarriages just happen, just take your prenatal, there's nothing more you need to be doing. And that just didn't sit right with me. I was like, there has to be more that I can do to set my body up for a healthy pregnancy. And if I wouldn't have been going through that, I would have never seen that. And I wouldn't have felt so passionately about there needing to be a better support system in the fertility space.
so okay, let's pause right there, because when we look at what drove you to sell first form supplements versus what drove you to now, build this redefined fertility business, it's so different, right?
Yeah.
One, you were driven by, okay, I really want to get out of this 9 to 5, and I see these people doing this. This sounds great. I think I can do this. And you jumped right in. And sometimes some people just need to jump right in. If you're listening to this, sometimes you just need to jump right in and try. You will not know unless you actually try. And I like how you said that you learned a lot from them, right? You learned, it brought you out of your shell. You had to, put yourself out there a lot. But then When we go to this other one that you're talking about, you somehow turned your pain into your profits, right? You've turned the mess of PCOS, infertility, and blah, blah, blah into your message. And it's so different. And I love what you said about it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So if you're listening to this, there are some things that are probably happening right now in your life, and you're having this victim mentality. If Olivia had that victim mentality, redefined fertility would not exist today. And that right there is the difference. Everything is happening for you. Even the first form supplement, there's a lot that you learned there. You mentioned earlier that the transferable skills from mechanical engineering to what you do now, there are actually some skills there. We'll touch on that too. But I just wanted to pause right there and just help the listeners just really connect the dots.
It feels so like there's a lot of pieces going on, but I feel like that also is like if I had to give one piece of advice to anybody, it's like just start. Like you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know what it's going to look like. Like the like when you're talking about like me starting to sell supplements versus like what Redefined Fertility was, like the common denominator there was that I this whole time I still knew that I did not want to be at a corporate job. I did not want to be having to show up at the office at 7 o'clock in the morning, having to clock every single hour, having to ask permission to be able to leave. I knew I didn't want that for the rest of my life, or that's the common denominator. I knew that I wanted to work for myself in some capacity. I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like. I had ideas of what I thought that was going to look like. And it's just once I finally got to the fertility space, that's when I finally felt like this is it. The whole time, like selling supplements, doing the fitness coaching, like I was still putting in just as much effort. It just never really felt aligned, if that makes sense. Where it's like I didn't love it like I love what I do now. I love the idea of having a business for myself, but like I said, and like you said, where it's like, if I wouldn't have gone through those, I still wouldn't have gotten to where I'm at now. Or it's like, you just have to move. You just have to start. Like, you will figure out the details and what it looks like long term, but you can't get there unless you start. If I would have never started selling supplements, I never would have had the skill set to be able to build Redefined Fertility.